Okay, so words that sound alike, often referred to as synonyms, right? So words that sound alike are usually spelled different and have a different meaning. And we're all guilty of, misspelling something. This whole section is basically on, common spelling errors and words that are mistaken. One word mistaken for another. And for this first one, it's things that sound almost identical, two, and two, right? Things like that. So, and particularly with these, it's very easy to make a mistake, really easy. And I do it because a lot of times I'll think about when I'm typing something and I'm, writing, I'm thinking about, writing it phonetically as it sounds. So sometimes I'll make a mistake, using the wrong form of to, or, some other word. Contractions are another way that we get in a little bit of trouble when it comes to using the correct word, because it sounds the same. Sometimes we get them mixed up. So let's take a look at our lesson then.
Hi, Leonard here. This is the lesson on words that sound alike. One common problem with spelling is confusing words that sound the same. This lesson will help you choose the right word.
Okay, can everybody hear Leonard? Okay.
One problem that I always have is mixing up the word capital with an A and capital with an O. Just a few weeks ago, I texted a friend that we were planning a trip to the Capitol with an O. Well, I used the wrong word. Capitol with an O is the building where lawmakers meet. The word capital with an A can mean a capital letter, money to start a business, or the city where the government is. My friend thought we were going to the state capitol building, where they have guided tours, but we were actually just going to the city, the capital with an A. Even though the words are very close, I caused some confusion and disappointment by using the wrong word. In this lesson, I'll go over a lot of words that people often mix up because they sound the same. I want you to identify the ones that you're most likely to get confused. Keep track of all your common spelling errors and look out for them when you write. That's the best way to improve. Let's get started.
Yeah, the capital thing is really silly. I don't know whose bright idea that was. So, a capital city, Columbus, right? The capital of Ohio, but the physical location where people work to make laws and everything. So like is Capitols with the TOL, and it's just that's easily confused, particularly with that because it's a difference of one letter and the meanings of which are so related, right? The people in the in the capital work at the capital, right? It's just way too confusing, that one in particular. But there's plenty of examples that we're going to see here where people get confused.
Let's go over a few commonly confused words that include prepositions and pronouns. You're familiar with some of these, and if you remember that for pronouns, apostrophes are always contractions, not possessives, it will help you remember the difference between some of these words. Click on the word to see its definition and a hint to help you remember. You'll also find a list of commonly confused words in the resources.
Okay. Yeah, so I will post, as you mentioned, there is a guide up here, commonly confused words, that I will put up on Google Classroom later today as well. Quite a list, but that'll be available for you. And of course, it's always in the lesson as well, so you can always click on that to take a look. Here's some commonly confused ones, right?
It's without an
It's.
apostrophe is the possessive form of it. Example: the dog is off its leash. It's with an apostrophe is a contraction, meaning it is or it has. Example: it's 10 o'clock right now. Remember, if a pronoun has an apostrophe, it's a contraction.
Yeah. So if it's a pronoun with an apostrophe, it's a contraction. One way to remember, when you're using it in a sentence, does it make sense if you're not using the contraction and you're using the full two words? So, like he said, it is 4 o'clock, right? I could say it's 4 o'clock, or it is 4 o'clock. That makes sense. Let me see if I can use the possessive pronoun. The cat had food, but its water dish was empty. Okay. So it's there should just be ITS and not a contraction. The cat's food, the cat had food, but its water bowl was empty, right? That doesn't work. That's way too awkward. So right away, that shouldn't be a contraction. It should just be ITS. So if the contraction doesn't work, you know that it's the possessive form of it and not the contraction of it is. Yeah, let's take a look here at a few of them. 4 and 4, right? So
For, spelled FOR, is a preposition.
Right.
Example: what are we having for dinner? For, spelled FOUR, is the number 4.
So
remember,
there's your difference. There, and there are very, very commonly confused, right? There is a possessive pronoun for a group, right? Their team, their car, whatever it may be, right? That's showing possession by more than one individual. THERE instead is a location. We are going over there, right? Whereas THEIR is that possessive. They are, right? That's a contraction for they are there. They are going to the movies. So a group, right? That's a pronoun and a verb are. When you put those two together, you have a contraction. They are going to the movies. To the movies. They're going to the movies. Two, and two.
Two, spelled TO, is a preposition. Example: I'm going to the store. To, spelled TOO, means also or a lot. Example: that's too much spaghetti. Two, spelled TWO, means the number 2.
Yeah.
Remember.
So again, very, very easy to confuse. Your and you are, right? The contraction for you are. Your is a pronoun, possessive pronoun. Your pencil, your computer, your laptop, whatever. And then you are. So the pronoun and a verb. You are going to the movies with us, And then, you could see again, by, and by. So difference in verbs and prepositions, and who's and whose. So the list goes on, and there's so many more than that. Like we said, there's a whole page here of commonly confused words, but you kind of see the idea. And oftentimes it involves pronouns and contractions. So let's see if we get some examples here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's see if you can choose the right word. For
Right.
each word choice, click on the correct word to complete the sentence.
And it doesn't matter what choice we put in there, it's going to sound the same. So you just say, when it's time for your yearly doctor's appointment, get ready before the visit. If I'm telling you that, you're not worried about the spelling, but if I'm writing that, it can confuse you and it may look awkward. It may take an extra second for you to understand what somebody is saying because they have to correct your grammar for you, correct your spelling. So when it's time, right? So it's a contraction. When it is time, Makes sense, right? For your yearly doctor's appointment, your Y-O-U-R, right, the possessive pronoun. So it's for first.
Great. The sentence means it is. When it is time. When there's an apostrophe in a pronoun, it's a contraction.
Right. And then second is our possessive.
Great. The sentence is talking about the doctor's visit belonging to you. It should use a possessive pronoun, your.
Again, and just, a quick way to correct those, you sound out the contraction. If the contraction doesn't make sense, then it's the other option.
Try another sentence. For each word choice, click on the correct word to complete the sentence.
So start by making a list of questions to ask your doctor.
BY.
BY. Yeah, that's going to be our first one. And go ahead and
Great
click
job.
that.
The word by is a preposition. Here, it shows how something is done. The sentence isn't talking about shopping or saying goodbye, then by is the correct word.
Nilda, number one was the contraction it's, IT apostrophe S, and then the possessive pronoun your, Y-O-U-R. Okay, and then to, which is preposition.
Great job. The word to is a preposition, and it's also used with verbs like to ask. If the sentence isn't talking about the number two, and it doesn't mean a large amount or also, then to is the correct word.
Yeah. All right. And let's see what he has here next.
Do you notice that when I give you commonly confused words, I try to give you a phrase or rule to help you remember? Those are called mnemonics, and they can help you memorize things like how to spell certain words. Try to make up your own mnemonics. It will help you remember even better. Are you ready for some more words? Each of these sets of commonly confused words has at least one verb. Click on the words to learn the definitions and mnemonics to help you remember.
Okay, we'll take a look at a couple of these. So bury and
bury, spelled B-U-R-Y, means to put underground. Example, the dog will bury its bone. Berry, spelled B-E-R-R-Y, is a type of small fruit, such as a blackberry or strawberry. Example, is there a ripe berry on the plant? Remember, berry and eat both have an E. Bury and underground both have a U.
Okay. That one's not too bad. Yeah, so here, as in the activity of listening, right? That's a verb. Or here, as in a location. H-E-R-E is the location. H-E-A-R is activity of listening. Break and brake. That one's easily confused. Brake, B-R-A-K-E, are like the brakes on your car when you slow down. B-R-E-A-K is to break something, right? To physically disconnect something or change. So
break,
take a look here.
Spelled B-R-A-K-E, means to stop a car or other vehicle, or the thing that stops a car. Example, did you brake fast enough? Break, spelled B-R-E-A-K, means to destroy something or make it unusable. Example, be careful not to break the glass. Remember, brake and car both have an A in the middle, and brake and leg both have an E in the middle. You break a car, but you break your leg.
That was a little shaky. The way I think about it is just breakfast, right? So the word breakfast, B-R-E-A-K-F-A-S-T. So the idea of getting up and eating breakfast in the morning is you are breaking your fast from overnight, right? So that's the way I kind of remember it. If it's breaking something, right, like my fast that I wasn't eating all night. So let's take a look here. Sight, and sight are often confused. Sight, C-I-T-E, is like citing a written work. If I put a citation in my paper, that's giving somebody information about where something came from. You may receive a citation from a police officer if you're speeding or something like that. That's another way that it's used as well. So making a citation of something. SITE is a location. So a digging site. Yeah, like or a work site, a construction site, SITE. So that's a physical location where something's happening. And then SIGHT is your vision. You know, that's like, you know, finding something with your sight. No and no. Certainly those, I think that's where, sort of like I was saying, when you're thinking phonetically, you may use the wrong one. I think most people know the difference between KNOW and no as a negative, but you may use the wrong one. Compliment and compliment. Here is one.
Compliment, spelled with an I, means to flatter or praise, or a flattering remark. Compliment, with an E, means to make something complete or go well with something. Remember, compliment and complete start the same, and I give a compliment.
Yeah. So a complement of soldiers, right, would be COMPLEMENT. Those shoes complement your dress. You know, that would be COMPLIMENT. Or no, I'm sorry. That would also be no. That would also be EMENT, because it makes your outfit whole, right? It complements, it goes together. But if I compliment you with a flattering remark about your shoes and your dress, then that would be with the I instead of the E. So that one gets a little tricky too. But yeah, if something complements something else, it means that they come together as a whole. If I compliment you on the way you look, then it's going to be with the I. One that I encounter a lot when I was particularly when I was a teaching assistant at OU, and I graded a lot of papers. This one was strikingly common, was the use of lead and lead. And okay, so lead, LEAD, is a verb, right? As in to lead people, to be the leader. Lead, LEAD, is the chemical element, right? You don't want lead poisoning. They used to put lead in paint. They found out that was bad. That is LEAD as well. The past tense of lead, however, is LED. And so many times I would see students using LEAD as the past tense of lead as well, right? So lead and lead being spelled the same way. And I know it's really confusing because there's another word where we sound it different, but it's spelled the same for past tense and present tense. Anybody know what I'm thinking of? And I'm surprised it's not on this list because there's another word that's spelled like it too. How about read and read? Right? READ is read. READ is read, as in the past tense of read. So I think when it comes to lead and lead, people get really confused and they just think that LEAD is like READ, and lead and lead have the same spelling, whether it's past tense or present tense. But LED is the past tense of lead. Okay, very, very common mistake. And then again, you know, I just mentioned one, right? Read and read, READ as the past tense of read, and the caller read RED. I'm surprised that's not on this list too. Do and do. Here's a good one too.
Do, spelled D-O, means to perform something or carry out a task. Due, spelled D-U-E, means something owed or a debt. Due can also mean caused by. Example, the game was canceled due to the rain. Remember, do goes with don't. Something is due if you owe it.
Yes. So performing a task is due. Something owed, D-U-E, is due. He was due his award, D-U-E. So commonly confused. Really, this one here as well, past and past, P-A-S-T. P-A-S-S-E-D is a noun. I'm sorry, it's a verb, right? So it's an action. So if someone passes you on the highway, or I passed my wife on the interstate, right? I passed this class. That is all P-A-S-S-E-D. Physical act of passing, right? That's the past tense of past. P-A-S-T is a point in time. That's already happened, right? That's in the past. P-A-S-T happened sometime before right now, right? That's in the past. It's history. P-A-S-S-E-D, though, is the verb. And right and right, again, I think people know the difference of that pretty well. But, again, phonetically, be careful. You're thinking about the way things sound, you might confuse the two. Writing, of course, is the verb, or you're, the act of scribing something, W-R-I-T-E, but R-I-G-H-T is like your right hand, the right side of something. Golf and gulf. Those actually sound a little bit different, but you could mistake them if somebody is, speaking fast or doesn't pronounce it right. Golf is the sport of hitting a small ball into a hole somewhere. It's boring. And Gulf is like a body of water. So the Persian Gulf, the Tonkin Gulf, things like that, the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, so let's see what we have here.
Try identifying the right word. For each word choice, click on the correct word to complete the sentence.
Yeah, so perfect, right? So Clark led the team to the work site. So, yeah, we have led, L-E-D.
Great.
Past tense of lead.
Verb. The past tense of to lead.
And then site.
Site, S-I-T.
S-I-T-E. We're taking someone to the site. We're taking them to a location. So that's going to be S-I-T.
Great job. The word site with an S means location. A work site is a place where people work.
All right. Now, moving on.
Here are a couple more. For each word choice, click on the correct word to complete the sentence.
Okay, so he said, we'll break ground on the new construction next week. So break, we're physically altering the ground, right? We're chewing it up. So it is B-R-E-A-K, breaking ground.
Great. The word break means to destroy or separate into pieces. To break ground means to start digging up earth so that the dirt is broken up.
Whereas B-R-A-K-E is sort of the act of slowing down, like I'm braking my car, or I'm using the brakes on my car. I need some new brake shoes, I believe. New construction next week. So N-E-W. That was pretty straightforward, right? So not the past tense of no, but N-E-W.
The word new is the opposite of old. It means something that's just been started or just been made.
All right. A few more here, and then we'll look at the practice questions.
Okay, just a few more words for this lesson. Let's take a look at some commonly confused words that includes nouns, adjectives, or adverbs.
Okay.
You'll probably run across other words that you have trouble spelling because they sound alike. When you find a word that gives you a problem, add it to a list of vocabulary words for yourself. It will be a big help to have your own personal vocabulary list to focus on the words that give you the most trouble. Click on each word pair to see the definitions and a rule to help you remember.
We don't have to go through all of these. I will point out a few here. So one way, this one in particular, principle and principle, right? Let's see what they actually say.
Principle,
yeah, okay, they use that mnemonic I use.
PLE means a code or law. Example, our business believes in the principle of helping customers. Principal, ending in PAL, means the administrator of a school, or an adjective meaning main. Remember that the principal is your pal.
Yeah, so if it ends in PLE, it's a code, it's a law. It might be something, the way you live your life. I have a principle of something. If it ends in PAL, it is the school administrator, the guy that runs your school. And the easiest way to remember that, something I think I learned in high school or junior high or something like that. The principal, as far as the person, the administrator, is your pal. So PAL, that's the way you remember. The principal is your pal. So that's a human being, that's an administrator. Let's see. Yeah, so already and already. That's probably something that gets confused. Really.
Already, spelled as two words, means completely prepared. Example, I'm all ready to go. Already, spelled ALREADY, means by now or previously. Example, I've already finished. Remember, you can replace already with just ready, and it will still make sense. If it doesn't make sense, use already.
So, keep that in mind. If you're completely prepared, it's ALL space R, it's two words. If it's something that's already happened, well, that already happened, right? That's going to be one word, ALREADY. This as well, altogether.
Spelled as two words, means as one, or all in one place. Example, they are all together for the holidays. Altogether, spelled ALTOGETHER, means completely. Example, he is altogether broke. Remember that replacing altogether with together will still make sense. If it doesn't, use altogether.
Yeah, and see, that's the other thing too. The idea of all together is ALL, the two words, it's kind of unnecessary because most of the time, you're sort of adding emphasis there when you use it. You could also say they are together for the holidays, right? And you basically have the same meaning. Adding all to that sort of adds emphasis that everybody's in one place together. But you really don't change the meaning by eliminating it. So that's one way to know whether or not you're using it right. He is altogether broke, right? So completely, you can't say he is together broke, right? That doesn't make sense. So there you can kind of see the difference. So altogether, AL as one word, meaning something is complete. The problem is they're closely related, right? That they have almost a similar idea. So, altogether is one word, it means completely. Well, altogether is two separate words, meaning everything in one place. So you have the difference of complete or everything together, right? So kind of similar meanings. Bear and bear. That's one that's often confused. If you bear a burden, it's BEAR. If you have a bare torso, right, it means you're exposing your abdomen, BARE. Right to bear arms. People make jokes about that, right? So the right to bear arms, as it's written in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, is BEAR. I have right to bear arms. Or they make a joke about that, the right to bear arms, BARE, meaning that I could, expose my arm. So, keep that in mind. BARE meaning exposed or stripped of, right? But BEAR is sort of like carrying a burden. capital and capital, we already went over. Peace and peace. Let's take a look at that.
Peace, spelled P-E-A-C-E, means absence of war or conflict. Piece, spelled P-I-E-C-E, means part of something. Remember that piece has the word pie in it. I want a piece of pie.
That's a good mnemonic, right? So a piece of something, so just one part. That's something that actually is missing here, is a part and a part, which is often confused as well. So sort of like this. So a part as two words, meaning is a component of something, right? The spring in my pen is a part of my pen. A part as one word, A-P-A-R-T, which is very, very, very often confused, is like blown apart, right? So they are apart, meaning they are not together. So apart, A-P-A-R-T as one word, meaning not together. Okay. Okay. One way to remember that, when you see A in front of a word, like apolitical, asymptomatic, something like that, it's sort of like the opposite of, right? So if it's a part of something, a part mean it is not belonging with something. So it's blown apart. And council and council.
Council, that one. Spelled C-O-U-N-C-I-L, means an official group or committee. Counsel, spelled C-O-U-N-S-E-L, means to give advice. You can remember that a city council runs a city, and that you might want to seek counsel if you want some advice.
Legal counsel is where you'll encounter that a lot. So that is S-E-L. That was part of his legal counsel, or a counsel. They'll use that term sometimes for lawyers and stuff, in proceedings and stuff like that. What is your, counsel? Do you have anything to add? Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so CIL is basically some type of official group. Okay. Yeah, Nilda, I will, the commonly confused words, I believe this list will have most of the stuff that I see them, council, fourth. So it covers a good deal of the words that we've been talking about here. If I think of any others, let's see, did it have a part on here? I'm surprised that they didn't put that on there, because that one I see a lot. If I think of any others, I'll put them on Google Classroom as well. Weather and weather, right? W-E-A-T-H-E-R is the climate outside, whatever, outside conditions are. W-H-E-T-H-E-R is like either or. So whether or not I do something. Okay, let's take a look. And stationary. Stationary, N-E-R-Y, is like your paper and pencil, right? The things that you write a letter with. Stationary, N-A-R-Y, is when you are in one location, when you are immobile, not moving. I want to make sure I got
stationary
that right.
With an A means not moving. Stationary with an E means paper to write letters on.
There you go.
Remember, you put stationary in an envelope.
Yeah, some of these mnemonics might be tough to remember. Principal is your pal. I think that's easy for everybody to sort of latch on to. Last one we'll look at here, whole and hole. So whole, H-O-L-E, is like a hole in the ground, or a hole in your t-shirt, or, a physical hole. W-H-O-L-E is, the entirety of something. The whole, she ate the whole cake. She ate the whole box of cereal, right? Thinking about, the entirety of something is W-H-O-L-E. We got a couple more examples, then we'll do the practice.
Click on the correct word to complete the sentence.
Yes. So the legislators met at the Capitol building to talk about the principles behind the proposed law. So capital TOL, because they're actually meeting at the location, not in the governing city of the state or Washington, D.C. They are meeting at a physical building. So the Capitol, TOL.
Great. The word capital means a building where lawmakers meet.
All right. And to talk about the principles behind the proposed law. So not the guy that runs the high school or the middle school, right? Not your pal, but PLES.
Great job. The word principles means a set of rules or beliefs that guide behavior. The lawmakers are talking about beliefs or ideas that help shape the law.
All right. And
just one more sentence. For each word choice, click on the correct word to complete the sentence.
So one senator asked whether the other senators would assent to a change in the wording of the law. So whether, so he's asking either or, right? Not about the climate outside, not about whether it's raining or not. So WHETH.
Great. The word whether is similar to if. The senator asked if the other senators would agree.
Yeah, so if this happens, those type of statements. And then assent. So if I ascend, right, that means I'm, rising into the air. Basically, that's ASCEND. So ascent would be well, no, wait, that's not past tense. Ascended. Yeah, ascended would be the past tense. So ascent is part of that present. Or assent, ASSENT. So that means to confirm, I suppose, or agree with. Dissent, right? There's a good way to remember that. DISSENT is when you do not agree. When the Supreme Court, they have a majority opinion and a dissenting opinion. So whenever there's a case and there's, the majority opinion, like Brown versus Board of Education, right? The majority opinion was that segregation was not equal, that we needed to, basically that, this was not okay. There was a dissenting opinion, though, of, I think it was just one justice, who had an opinion different than that, who had opposed overturning Plessy versus Ferguson. So assent, ASC, is to rise, basically, while assent, ASSENT, is to agree with.
Great job. To assent means to agree. The sentence means if the senators would agree to a change.
Yeah, we don't hear assent as often. We hear about dissent, right? Disagreement, DISSENT, but the same idea between those two words. Dissent, disagree, assent is to agree. All right, now we have our rest of our practice questions.
Now it's time to show that you've learned this concept.
All right, so let's take about 10 minutes. They're just, same thing we've been doing. There's a few, different choices there. So I will stop sharing my screen. And you guys take about 10 minutes to work on your own, and then we'll take a look at the answers. I'm up if you can. Okay, so our questions. Right out of the gate here. So when your car's check engine light comes on, it's trying to tell you something. You'd better get it serviced. So we need to change that form of it's to it is. And as we could see, if we replace that and try it with it is, right, it makes sense. When your car's check engine light comes on, it is trying to tell you something. You'd better get it serviced. So not the possessive pronoun there. Rather, we need the contraction. So it's to IT''S. Okay. And there's our lead again. So Ranger Oso, I think that's correct, led us back to the campground. On the way, we passed a destroyed ice chest. The ranger explained that bears will break into any unsecured food that they can find. So, led, right? He is leading them back. It is the past tense. It is not the chemical element lead, like on the periodic table of elements. So LED, the past tense of lead, is what we need there. On the way, we passed a destroyed ice chest. So they're on the trail. They just passed by an ice chest. Not historically, right? So PASSED, they passed by it. So PASSED. And the ranger explained that bears will break into any secured food. So breaking, right? Meaning to destroy or pull apart, right? They're not slowing down. So BREAK. Yeah. Led is the past tense of lead. Past is the past tense of pass. And break means to destroy or tear apart. Okay. The guests were seated all together. Got a hair mouth or something. The guests were seated all together at the table. The host prepared to cut the first piece of turkey. He asked each guest whether they wanted a cut of dark or light meat. All together, I got something on my face. It's driving me crazy. There it is. There, I found it. It was a hair. The guests were seated all together. So how do we know which one to use? Can we just use together? It doesn't make sense. The guests were seated together at the table. So all, ALL space, 2 words is what we need there. The host prepared to cut the first piece of turkey. Remember our mnemonic there? Just like piece of pie. So 1 unit of a whole, a piece of. So PIECE. And then he asked each guest whether they wanted a cut of dark or light meat. So if, right? Or either or, whether this or that. So WHETHER. Whether implies a choice. PIECE is a part or section. All together means everyone is joined together.
You're doing very well.
And we'll keep going here. And as a matter of fact, let's see. The mayor gave a speech at the construction site. We tried to give him the attention he was due. Sadly, his microphone wasn't working, so we couldn't hear him. So HERE should be replaced with HEAR, right? The act of listening is HEAR. Yeah. Word here is the present tense of heard. The word here, HERE, refers to a place or position. Okay, and who's been putting trash in the recycling bin again? Please pay attention. Each bin has its own sign. Now I have to sort through the recycling and take out the trash. It's asking a question here. Who is been putting trash in the recycling bin again? Who is doing that, right? So we can separate that out instead of using the contraction. We know that makes sense. So whose? Each bin has its own sign. Are we going to say each bin has its own sign? No, that doesn't make sense. So we don't use the apostrophe. This is a possessive. This is a possessive pronoun. Now I have to sort through the recycling and take out the trash. We didn't talk about this one, but THREW is the act of throwing something, right? It is the past tense of throw. Through means to go all the way through, or passing through something. So THROUGH, because she is sorting through the recycling, right? Having to pull it apart. Yeah. Whose means belonging to who. Whose apostrophe S, who apostrophe S means who is or who has. It's, right? We already discussed that one. And then through, like I said, past tense of throw. Okay. Jack spent all day grilling burgers on the 4th of July. He didn't know there was a hole in his cap. So now he has a sunburn where his scalp was left bare. So 4th, right? We're dealing with a number. So FOURTH. If it's dealing with a number outside of 40, right? The number 40 is FORTY. But in any other occasion, if you're seeing 4, like, or 4th, it's FOURTH. So 4th of July, he didn't know there was a hole, right? So a space in his cap, HOLE. So now he has a sunburn where his scalp was left bare, BARE. Yeah, the number 4 in a sequence. 4th, FORTH, is onward. We go forth into the night, whatever. Bear, BEAR, means to handle or carry, right? As in a burden. BARE means empty or naked. And then whole is an entirety, where HOLE means a space where something is missing. All right, I have a pen pal in the Persian Gulf. We write each other at least once a month. Although I haven't met him in person, I know him like a brother. No changes, right? Gulf, right? They're purposely showing you a few words that you may have an issue with. Another one we didn't talk about, pen, right? So you have your writing utensil, PEN, or a pen like a stick pen is PIN, right? So that's somewhere you could get tripped up as well. But I have a pen pal in the Persian Gulf. We write each other at least once a month. Although I haven't met him in person, I know him like a brother. So no, that's another one they're trying to make you look at. But you'll realize everything in here is correct. There's no changes that need to be made. Yeah, right. So it says golf instead of golf. Right. So there's another one, WRITE. So here, just making sure that we understand that those were all correct usages. I made a fairy costume for Halloween. The wings don't flap, they're just stationary. I guess I won't be making my ascent into the sky anytime soon. So fairy, it was on the list. We didn't discuss that, but what we're looking for is FAIRY, like the mythical creature, the fantasy creature, right? Fairy, FERRY, is like the ship that'll take you across short distances, like to the other side of a lake or something like that. They ferried them to this point. So fairy here, costume for Halloween. The wings don't flap, they're just stationary. So we need ARY, because ERY is our things we use to write. I guess I won't be making my ascent into the sky anytime soon. So as I said, right, it's rising up into the sky. It's ASCENT, or any version of that, right? Anything that's rising is, if it's ascension or ascended or ascending or ascent, right? Any of those are going to be, something that's rising. It's a verb. Whereas assent, ASSENT, is to be in agreement. Yep. Fairy is a magical creature. Stationary, E-R-Y, is paper for writing. A-R-Y means unmoving. And a ferry is a boat that takes people across the water. Or it can also be used as a verb, like ferrying, is like the act of transporting something. They ferried airplanes across the Atlantic Ocean during World War II, right? That would be an example of use as a verb. But either way, different than
Thanks for finishing the
magical
lesson.
creature.
I hope that this practice with commonly confused words will help you with your writing. The most important thing is to understand which words give you the most trouble and focus your studying on those words. Click Results to see how you did on the questions.
Okay, so let me stop sharing the screen here. Some of this is just a matter of practice and exposure. Yeah, there are mnemonics that you can learn and ways to remember them from time to time. But in other instances, it's just a matter of seeing them enough to know the difference. It's a pretty comprehensive list I was looking at there on the worksheet, which of course I'll have on Google Classroom, and you have here in Essential Ed that you can refer to as well. So yeah, when it comes to contractions, it's easier to catch because all you have to do is sound out the contraction, use both words to see whether or not that works. When it comes to things like all together, right, you can eliminate the all part to see if that works in that sentence. But in other cases, bear and bear, what can you do? Not much. Just knowing the difference that, B-A-R-E is exposing yourself or exposing something, having something exposed, where B-E-A-R is carrying a burden or carrying something. And, it's just a matter, again, just sort of exposure to it and some practice. So is there any questions on words that sound alike? Okay, tomorrow we're going to do words that sound similar. So a little bit different. I'm sorry, no, we'll do that Wednesday. Tomorrow we'll do some RLA reading. And then when we come back to language arts, we'll be working on things that sound similar. Sometimes with those problems, it's just the way we pronounce things that wind up sounding similar and getting us confused. So a little bit of a difference there between the two classes. Anyway, with that all said, let's go ahead and end the day here. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 12:15 for social studies.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.